All right, so I've titled this slide fractions parentheses. Yes, I know, but I have to do this. This topic that we're about to look at here in Unit 5, there's a lot of simplifying, a lot of basic operations, but the basic operations are done with trigonometric terms instead of integers like this. So just to reiterate how we can, you need a common denominator in order to add fractions, right? And then the method that we do for finding a common denominator, not the least common denominator, but a common denominator, is just to multiply the denominators together, right? So if I multiply this by 4 and I multiply this by 3, these are going to both end up being 12ths. And now I have a common denominator. But whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Same thing over here, right? So we end up with 8 twelfths plus 15 twelfths equals 23 over 12. Now, just take a brief sidebar here for a second. Let's suppose I wanted to add 1/3 to, let's say, 2/9. All right. Now, normally when we look at adding fractions, we want to find a common denominator. And in this case, the common denominator is the smallest multiple of each of these numbers, which in this case would be 9. So if you're looking at integers like this, you would just say, well, I'm just going to multiply this by 3 on the top and bottom, then it's going to be 9ths, which is obviously the best route to take. It's the most efficient, okay, because it's obvious. What we're about to start doing, it's not going to be as obvious what the least common denominator is, okay? So even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense right now, I'm going to multiply this by 3 and I'm going to multiply this by 9, just to illustrate one concept here. When I do this, okay, I get 9 over 27 plus 6 over 27, which is 15 over 27. In doing this method, which is the fastest way to do it, I don't necessarily end up with the least common denominator. So when I do this, I may have a sum that has to be reduced. Both of these are divisible by 3. So we get 5 over 9 as our final answer. So we're cutting some time in the beginning, but we're having to add that at the end because we may have to simplify what we get when we do this method. Okay, just keep that in the back of your head when we start doing this with stuff like sine x and cosine squared x and 1 plus tangent squared x. That's what you're going to start to see in these fractions. Okay, but never lose the idea that if you want to combine fractions, multiplying denominators is the fastest way to do it. Okay, but when you do that, you may have to simplify at the end.